So this is what I told him. I said, look, you can't apply these 3 tools that I'm going to tell you about, and then boom, all of a sudden, hey, I'm emotionally healthy now. That's not how it works. That's not how emotional growth works. These emotional tools will definitely help you get on the right track, but it doesn't mean that, okay, I've used these emotional tools once. I went to the gym and did bench press 10 times, or I ran twice around the track, and so like I'm emotionally healthy. That's not how it works. Our emotional fitness requires ongoing work and intentional work and consistent work, just like our physical fitness, right? So emotional fitness is no different. Now, disclaimer, I'm no psychologist, I'm no counselor, I'm no therapist. This is from my own application, personal application and execution that has been game changer for me. Welcome to the EQ for Entrepreneurs podcast. Like most business owners, you already know you need good business and marketing strategies to scale and be profitable. But at some point, you've hit the dreaded wall where you feel stuck and frustrated. EQ for Entrepreneurs is for business owners and leaders who are honest enough to admit that they just might be the ones holding their business back and are brave enough to change that.
We're Noble and Kathy, and every week we're having candid conversations about all things emotional intelligence and how growing that has allowed us to get out of our own way and is radically transforming both our businesses and our personal lives. This is the secret sauce strategy for modern entrepreneurs who are tired of hustling without seeing results and want to grow a business and a life that they love.
What is going on, entrepreneurs, leaders, and influencers? Welcome to this episode of EQ for Entrepreneurs. Super stoked to share with you 3 emotional tools that will absolutely impact and I feel improve your emotional bandwidth and your ability to handle emotional situations and stuff. And first of all, thank you all for tuning in. Some of y'all may be watching on Facebook, you may be watching on our EQ for Entrepreneurs YouTube channel, or listening to this on our podcast. Again, thanks a million for all your support. We recently hit over 26,000 downloads. Super excited about that because our goal is to help heal people emotionally, because when people heal emotionally, they in turn, the healthier you get emotionally, the better you're going to benefit and impact everyone else around you. So again, this particular episode, we're going to be talking about 3 emotional tools to help improve your emotional bandwidth and emotional capacity, which nowadays is not nowadays, but it's always been important. But I think folks are becoming more aware of the importance and the critical nature of having a large emotional capacity, a large capacity to handle a lot of different emotions and stuff, especially for folks that are maybe, have high stress jobs, that kind of thing. Even homeschool families, right, deal with a lot of stress. But again, now in today's world, man, it's with COVID and everything else that's been going on, there's a lot of situations and scenarios where our emotions have been triggered. And a lot of people are walking around without emotional tools to handle them. Case in point, I received a phone call yesterday. Great buddy of mine, 25 years old, young guy, car sales, doing very well, engaged. And he called me up and said, "Hey, Noble, need some input, need some advice." Then I said, "Hey, bro, what's going on? Like, just tell me what's going on. What's on your plate? What's going on?" He began to share a story of a lot of different scenarios that are very emotionally charged. And you could almost break it down by people. So this person was causing a lot of stress, a lot of emotions around this particular person. This person over here was causing a lot of stress. This person over here, this person over here. So there are probably 4 or 5 different people and scenarios that were causing a lot of stress and anxiety. Guess what? He was handling each of these scenarios exactly how I handled these same kind of situations in my life for 98% of my life. I started to get emotionally overwhelmed with this scenario and this person over here. Boom, guess what I do? Because I was an emotional white belt, I would completely shut this person down or off, and then I would begin to avoid that person because I couldn't handle all the emotions that were going on that were surrounding that particular person. So I would just avoid them. And in my head, the story, we have our 8-week EQ course going on right now. We're about to wrap it up and actually about to start another EQ course, another 8-week EQ course. And one of the things we talked about last night was the impact of the stories that we have around people. What stories do you have around loved ones? What stories do you have around coworkers? What stories are you telling yourself about maybe some of the folks that are, maybe if you're an entrepreneur that are in your company? What are the stories you're telling yourself? Are you even aware of the stories that you're telling yourself? Are you aware of how those stories are impacting how you're treating those people? So I would avoid people, and then I would tell myself a story about that person to justify me avoiding and staying away from that person. Well, how's that work out for you when that person that you're avoiding is your spouse? Let me tell you, it didn't work out very well. But we all have our own coping mechanism. When you start to get overwhelmed emotionally, how do you handle it? What are the tools, the emotional tools you have in your emotional kit bag with handling emotionally charged situations? Are you conscious with those tools that you have? Are you aware of those tools that you have? How can you improve? How can you add to your emotional tool bag? So this young man, and he was starting to close off these people. He was starting to shut these people down and out of his life. And some of these people, it would not have been very good or healthy for him to do that, to start, shutting down all these people in his life. And so I told him, I said, look, bro, I said, okay, I can see what's going on. What's happening is because right now you're an emotional white belt, which again, I have been an emotional white belt for 98% of my life. So I completely understand what's going on. You're getting overwhelmed. Each of these scenarios and these people are causing you stress and anxiety, which is maxing out your emotional capacity to handle not only individually these scenarios, but also collectively. And so what was he doing? He started, again, shutting down and out these different people from his life, which again is what I have done as well. That was my only white belt emotional move, was to shut people down and out of my life. I didn't really have any other emotional tools to deal with or handle. So here are 3 tools. Here are 3 tools that I recommended to him that he said, dude, I've been going to counseling and therapy. I got more from 30 minutes of your conversation, Noble, than I have in my counsel with my counselor therapy person. And so I was encouraged to hear that he felt that this is going to be very useful tools. But here's the thing, I'm an entrepreneur. So I enjoy some philosophy. I enjoy some theoretical. I enjoy some conceptual. But at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, stuff has to work for me. I've got to be able to apply stuff in my life. So theory is cool, and I don't mind talking about theory and that kind of thing. I need practical tools to help me grow emotionally. And again, I'm so thankful that over the course of the last few years, these tools that I'm about to tell you that I told this young man have been what's been helping me out and really continuing to help me in my emotional growth journey. Now, here's the thing. Here's something to be aware of. So this is what I told him. I said, look, you can't apply these 3 tools that I'm going to tell you about, and then boom, all of a sudden, hey, I'm emotionally healthy now. That's not how it works. That's not how emotional growth works. These emotional tools will definitely help you get on the right track, but it doesn't mean that, okay, I've used these emotional tools once I went to the gym and did bench press 10 times, or I ran twice around the track, and so like I'm emotionally healthy. That's not how it works. Our emotional fitness requires ongoing work and intentional work and consistent work, just like our physical fitness, right? So emotional fitness is no different. Now, disclaimer, I'm no psychologist, I'm no counselor, I'm no therapist. This is from my own application, personal application and execution that has been game changer for me. Okay, 3 tools. Number 1, this is what I told him to do. I said, every one of these people that is causing you stress, take a notebook page, notebook, take 1 page for every person that's causing you stress and anxiety. Frank, Ralph, Susie, Francis, right? Whatever the names are. 1 page per person that's causing you stress. Or maybe it's a scenario. Maybe it's a job scenario. Maybe it's a family scenario. So anyway, but I just told him, okay, put the person at the top of the page, and dedicate 1 page per person. And then once you do that, I want you you can print out, you can go to our website, eqforentrepreneurs.com. We have it on our website, or you can just Google emotion wheel. Emotion wheel. I said, print that out when you're going to do this exercise, because it's going to help you out. Most people are not super savvy with emotions and emotional grammar, emotional language. Again, like me for 99% of my life. And so print this out. And as you're looking at this emotion wheel, with each page, with each of these people that's been causing you stress, write down as many emotions as you possibly can that are surrounding each person on these pages. So page number 1, I've got Frank, and I'm really upset with Frank. I've got a lot of emotions around Frank because whatever, right? Whatever the scenario is, whatever Frank did to me or said to me or didn't say or didn't do or whatever, right? So whatever I'm emotional about Frank about, I'm going to write all the emotions down. Anger, frustration, sadness, disappointment, rejection, confusion, concern, rage, right? Whatever, all those emotions, put all those emotions down. Okay, so that's exercise number 1. Do that for every single person and scenario that is causing you stress right now. Now, the cool thing, with this tool, you can apply this next week, next month, next quarter, next year. This tool is so powerful, okay? So that's exercise number 1. Vomit the emotions specifically around each scenario that is causing you stress. Because here's the deal, each of these scenarios could be generating different emotions inside of you. I may have a certain amount of emotions with Frank. I may have a whole separate set of emotions with Biff, a whole other separate set of emotions with Bubba, right? Each one of these could be causing different emotions. So you can't do like, okay, these are the emotions I'm feeling for everybody. No, you can't do that. So just break it down. Plus, physiologically, the brain digs more organization and stuff. So the more you can file and organize and the more specific you can get with your emotional verbiage and vocabulary, the better your brain will be able to start working on these different emotions and stuff. Okay, so that was exercise number 1. Exercise number 2, take that list, get your timer, your watch, set your watch timer, your cell phone timer, whatever timer you got, and set it for 60 to 90 seconds, literally 1 minute. Set it for 1 minute. It typically takes the human body a minute to a minute and a half to feel an emotion, to really feel the fullness of that emotion. It only takes a minute to a minute and a half for our bodies and minds to really feel that emotion. So think about how many times have I been emotionally hijacked for hours or even days or even weeks, y'all. So now that I've realized, oh snap, I don't need to dwell and stew on stuff for hours and days. If I just focus, set my alarm. So boom, I'm going to take Frank first. Frank's my first guy that's I got a lot of emotions around. Set the alarm, and I've got 23 emotions that I wrote down that I'm feeling about Big Frank. 23 emotions, using that as an example. So now I set my alarm. My alarm starts clicking down from 1 minute. And I allow myself to feel that first emotion on the top of the page that I'm feeling about Frank. I'm feeling angry. So what does anger feel like? I want to allow myself, I'm going to give myself permission to feel angry at Frank for a full minute. Where am I feeling it in my body? Oh man, I'm feeling it in my chest. My chest is getting hot. It's getting tight. Is it my throat? Man, my throat's getting tight. Feel it. Allow yourself to feel that anger for 1 minute. Then boom, the alarm goes off. Now move to emotion number 2, sadness. I'm sad. I'm sad about what happened between me and Frank. Now, boom, start that alarm again. Allow yourself to feel that sadness about Frank for a full minute. Why are you sad? What does sadness feel like? What is that emotion? Give yourself permission and grace and space to feel that emotion of sadness for a full minute. Boom. Now I go to emotion number 3 and do that exercise. That's exercise number 2 until you finish all 23 emotions or 37 emotions. Or there was one time I did this exercise about this super stressful emotion or thing I was going through. I wrote down 80 emotions about one scenario that was going on. Allow yourself to feel, set 80 minutes, give yourself that block of time to feel all those emotions. Okay, here's the thing, couple of disclaimers. This is exercise number 2. When you do this exercise, now, I don't recommend, so let's say there's 5 people that are causing you stress or 5 things causing you stress. I don't recommend doing all 5 at the same time, all 5 people or all 5 scenarios that are causing you stress to do it at the same time. Because it's when you're feeling these emotions, it's exhausting. Emotional PT, emotional physical fitness, emotional fitness is exhausting. It's very taxing. It physiologically impacts us when we're doing emotional work. So give yourself space after you do these exercises to maybe even take a nap or rest or lay down or veg out in front of the TV or go for a walk or whatever it is that you do to kind of de-stress. You don't want to go from, not de-stress, because this exercise will help you de-stress, but you don't want to go from this very kind of intense emotional exercise into, boom, an appointment or an interview or, something immediately right after this thing that you're going to do, this exercise. So just give yourself some time to rest, recuperate, that kind of thing. All right, so next, that's a second exercise. The third exercise that I recommended to my buddy when he called me, I said, here's the third exercise I recommend. So first exercise is to write down all the emotions. Second exercise, allow yourself to feel all those emotions. Give yourself 1 minute with each emotion. And again, I don't recommend you do it all at the same time, right? With all the different scenarios. Maybe you do one a day, or maybe you do one every other day that's causing you stress, one every other day, or one a day, something like that. Because again, it's a lot. It can be pretty intense. Okay, so the third exercise that I recommended to this guy, that is super helpful emotional tool to do. I said, now, after you've done those first 2 exercises, write each one of those people a letter. Handwrite each one of those people a letter. But here's the deal. You don't have to give it to them. Just the act of putting your thoughts on paper to each one of these people that is causing, that maybe you've got some stress or anxiety around, putting those thoughts down on paper will be tremendously cathartic and healing. Now, here's the thing. If you feel like because this may be a spouse, this may be a child, one of your children, this could be a coworker, this could be one of your employees, this could be a family member, like someone that's injured you or hurt you in the past. This will help you heal emotionally. Now, I'm not saying this is the only thing that because maybe you need professional help. Maybe you need, some counseling, that kind of thing, and get that if you need that. But this can begin the healing process. Now, again, here's the thing. When you write this letter, if you feel like you want to give the actual letter to the person, you can, but don't feel like you have to. You may just burn it after you write it. You may file it away for a rainy day. You may, right, just the act of writing the letter is going to be cathartic. Now, again, don't feel like you have to do anything with it. Don't feel like you have to give it. Just doing the act of writing that letter is a game changer. Okay, so that's the third emotional tool. You can use these emotional tools for any emotionally charged scenario that ever happens in your life. These are 3 emotional tools that you can become proficient at. And here's the thing. We also talked about this on our EQ course last night. This is such powerful tools to share with your children. Teach this stuff to your children. Give your children emotional tools, emotional coping mechanisms, so that they don't resort to how our mind works, where it just because sometimes our survival mechanisms are not productive over the course of our lifetime. They may have served us at one point in our life, but they may not be serving us right now. You may not, even though I'm still using this particular survival mechanism, it may not be healthy anymore. It may not be productive anymore for me now that I'm a grown man versus when I was a child. So just something to think about. So pass these tools on to your friends, your family members. Okay, when you do this, when you begin to become proficient at applying these tools, this will help increase your emotional capacity. This will help increase your ability to handle more emotionally charged things. Now, again, not exclusively. This combined with a consistent emotional growth program will because the healthier you get, the more healing you get emotionally, that will really be the source of increasing your emotional capacity and your emotional bandwidth. But I would encourage you to do an emotional tool audit and inventory in your life. Just again, maybe when you're done watching this video or listen to this podcast, take 10 minutes. Maybe it's all you need. How is your current emotional tools? How are your current emotional tools? Do you feel confident in your ability to handle stressful, anxiety-filled situations? How do you feel? Do you feel like you need to grow in this area? Can you improve in this area? Statistically speaking, 70% of people cannot specifically identify the exact emotions that they're feeling at any given time. 70% of people. So I would encourage you, if you're in that 70%, to really start using these tools. And here's the other thing I recommended to my buddy. I said, bro, the next time we do our 8-week EQ course to grow your emotional intelligence, sign up for it. You guys can check that out. Again, we're starting our next course pretty soon, next month. EQforentrepreneurs.com/EQA. For those of you all that would like to get an assessment of your emotional intelligence, I've got access now that I'm an emotional intelligence practitioner. I have access to a scientific EQ test. You can check that out at EQforentrepreneurs.com/training. And you'll scroll down to the bottom and you'll see there's an EQ assessment that you can sign up to take. I'd have to send it to you and all that kind of stuff because it's super fascinating and powerful tool to get an idea of where you're at right now on the emotional map. How healthy are you emotionally? Where are you at on the emotional intelligence map, so to speak? How emotionally intelligent are you? So I just want to encourage you guys, the healthier you become emotionally and the more emotional tools that you have, now you won't avoid emotionally charged situations. You can stay calm going into them, again, like doing jujitsu, for example, because now you have some moves. You have some emotional moves, so to speak, that you can use when you engage with that, training partner or opponent, so to speak, right? I'm just using jujitsu as an analogy, but now you won't avoid situations that may be emotionally charged because you have tools to handle them. And now, are these the only tools? We've got a lot more tools. In fact, if you hear some other episodes in our podcast, we have all kinds of other emotional tools, but this is a very relevant conversation that I had yesterday with a young man that I wanted to share with you all. Please continue to let us know. How are you growing emotionally? Thank you for rating and reviewing and sharing our podcast and YouTube channel. Just really appreciate it. And thank you for sharing how you are growing specifically emotionally. And how, I'm just hearing some amazing stories. Talked to an ER doc yesterday on our EQ course right now. He shared a story. He's in the middle of helping the super sick guy. He wasn't like on the operating table, but he was a real sick dude. And this ER doc is checking him out and checking his respiratory levels and stuff. And this nurse came in and asked him a question while the doctor, this guy who's going through our course right now, a question. Hey, doc, can you do this also with this guy? And the doc was like, hey, thanks for your input there. Right now, I'm super focused on this task that I'm currently doing with this gentleman. Can we talk about it? I'm going to need to think about that. Can we talk about it later? And she said, absolutely no problem. Would you mind if I asked another doctor? She said, but I don't want to step on your toes. I don't want to offend you, but just because you're busy right now, would you mind if I spoke with one of the other doctors about it? And he's like, wow, no, that's totally fine. And he said, man, I have never had anybody speak to me where they were considering my own emotions and feelings. And he said, I've been in the ER for 8 years now. He said, I have never felt more connected to a team member of mine than in that moment. And he said, because he's been going through this EQ course, he said, wow, you've got amazing emotional intelligence. And she was kind of taken aback by it, but he's like, I never would have, said that before because I was not familiar with the concept of emotional intelligence prior to taking your course. But he said, he was on the receiving end of another person's emotional intelligence. And then Kathy, my awesome wife, said this. She's like, man, how can we be more like that nurse? How can we be more sensitive to the emotions and feelings of those around us? And not, where, again, the whole point of emotional intelligence is not to be controlled by our emotions and feelings like so many are today. That's not the purpose of emotional intelligence. It's so that we know how to manage and identify and handle and process our emotions and other people's emotions versus, having no capacity, no bandwidth, no emotional tools to handle your own or other people's emotions, right? So the goal of emotional intelligence is to be more effective at handling our emotions, not allowing our emotions to rule us and control us and have power over us. We want to be informed by our emotions, not controlled or manipulated by our emotions or hijacked by our emotions. So anyway, hopefully you all got some takeaways from today's episode. Again, check out some of our previous episodes. Super helpful information in there. Really excited about your own emotional growth journey. Again, if you want to check out our emotional growth course, our emotional intelligence course, check out eqforentrepreneurs.com/EQA. If you'd like to get an assessment and a coaching appointment on your emotional intelligence, you can check that out at eqforentrepreneurs.com/training. Emotionally healthy people help heal other people emotionally.